Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about self-driving cars, we're talking about AI, we're talking about holographic vehicle tech and the possibility of artificial intelligence replacing photographers. Thanks for tuning in, and this is the Alfie Whattam podcast.
The Alfie Whattam podcast.
So we'll kick off with Zoox.com, who have just had approval in Cali, in California, to make their self-driving cars on the road. I'm going to play a quick clip of this and we'll get your reactions to it. For those listening on audio, now is a good time to turn on the video as well. So essentially, over the past couple of years, Zoox have been testing their self-driving cars on many roads, bumpy roads, rainy roads, snowy roads, cold, dirt, private, wet, you name it, they've been testing it, and they've been developing this machine learning, this AI, getting them better and better, and now finally the state of California has granted them permission and the approval to go on the public roads. So in California, you can hail, I imagine via an app, a self-driving car, built for riders, not for drivers. It looks like something from the future. You can pop inside this thing, and you can, I would say drive, but no, you can be driven using AI to your destination. Obviously, massive implications this could have on millions of jobs, but obviously questions around that, around safety and so on and so forth. Let's just get your initial reactions to this. Lorenzo, when you see that clip, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was a car company, but actually, as you mentioned, it's an AI company, right? How many other technologies did they have to develop to make that possible? What I'm seeing here is they probably have environmental sensors, hazard detection, all that type of technology that can even be repurposed to something else. So they are really into those extra benefits. This seems like just the first application of what they have built in there.
Yeah.
So of course it's great. I'd love to try that out. But that is just an incremental improvement over our infrastructure.
Yes.
We have our road, we have our traffic lights, etc. They're doing that something a bit better. In reality, they're building something that it seems to me this is just one first application that to make it viable commercially.
Yeah.
I would be very keen to see what else is behind it, right? Are they building new type of tires, new type of AIs? How's the data management of that fit in? So I think this is just one product for a new type of company that would be more AI based than anything else.
Yeah, new type of industry, because obviously Tesla have got their autopilot, Cruise have been doing it from a different angle, but it's great to see more and more players get into this space. Giuseppe, when you see that clip, what's your thoughts and reactions?
Okay, fun fact, 2-3 days ago someone didn't see me crossing on the zebra crossing. I don't know if he was using some mobile apps, but sometimes...
Did they hit you?
No, I'm here. But it was scary.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm very impressed, as Lorenzo said, about the technology, what is behind. And I can understand also, I was living 10 years in Los Angeles, why they're doing this in California, because in rush hour, you don't want to be at the steer of your car. So if the car is not speeding, like going 5 miles per hour in the traffic, better to let the car drive.
Yeah.
And then there will be time, where the cars, they can drive also on the snow or rain and so on, more difficult situations. But it can be a good start, yeah. Also in London, a self-driving car would be wonderful.
I would love these sort of things here. That would be incredible. And you're right, in especially in the valley, the traffic is insane. So hopefully this will help, solve that problem. Obviously, Elon's come at it from a different angle with the Boring Company. We did a story in the last episode about flying cars now becoming a thing. So, and I think on our episode, Lorenzo, we had was that the Uber episode with the flying Ubers?
We saw flying cars.
Yes, flying Uber helicopters and drones. So different people tackling that challenge of traffic from different points of view, but interesting to see this take on it as well. Nick, what's your perspective when you see that clip?
Yeah, I suppose my real concern is the social aspect.
Okay.
And that's what really struck me. I'll come on to the technical side afterwards.
Sure.
The first thing I thought was there's an awful lot of people out there who aren't going to have a job.
Yes.
And that worries me.
Mm.
What are people going to do? And we've seen it before. certainly in this country we've seen it before when places like the coal mines were closed down and what it did to communities, and people ended up working in factories, not so much factories, but somewhere like B&Q.
Sure. Okay.
Was where they ended up. So I do worry because we do, in this country, we do rely an awful lot on people to become cab drivers, taxi drivers,
Yeah.
Uber drivers, and also with some Deliveroo, you can see it all the time.
Yeah.
So these are people that are going to be really affected. Which, if we think about it, they are at the lower level of the pay structure.
Of course.
So that is a concern for me. That's the first thing that struck me and sort of worries me, because there's going to be an awful lot of people now out of work. And what are you going to do with those people? The optimist in me, because I am a technical optimist, I want to put that out there first straight away. The optimist in me says, well, you know what, we'll be able to do other things and we'll find other things for people to do. But it's a generational thing, and there'll be a certain generation of people that probably won't be able to find work, whereas there are others that will. So that's my first concern. Technically, I think it's fantastic. The one thing that did strike me, which I sort of had a wry grin to myself, was I can't imagine the amount of testing that took place.
Oh, of course. I mean, there had to be. I mean,
can you imagine?
It got approved, right? So I mean, there had to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I know from having to get large scale applications in place, the level of testing I've had to go through over the years. So the level of testing must have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Technically, both the guys are right. It must be some very special tech they've got out there.
You raise an interesting point on the jobs, an obvious one that we need to discuss, right? I remember us having basically the same conversation, Lorenzo, a couple of weeks ago, but let's dissect it from the angle of self-driving cars. If this takes off, we will see millions of Uber drivers being replaced, truck drivers going out of, being made redundant, and obviously tech always takes over jobs and it creates new jobs as well, but this is going to have perhaps overnight an impact which, we haven't seen before in history on a global scale. So what are your takes on that side? Should we be limiting the innovation like Elon's been discussing with the pause on AI, or should we be trying to upskill and train them into new areas, or do we not know the answers? Giuseppe, what's your opinion on the job side of the impact this will have?
Okay, this is a very big question, because any job is good, but there are some jobs that honestly you don't want to do.
Sure.
Like I'm thinking about the delivery guys and so on, And of course you need to understand that 100 years ago when the cars, they were replacing the horses, it was the same problem
Yes.
they're going to do. I'm optimistic. I will think that people, they will find better ways to live. And also there is a bigger picture, because it's not just driving cars. AI will replace millions of jobs.
Yes.
If you use today, ChatGPT can do almost everything you need to do in the office.
Yeah.
And that I think can be seen as something good or not. Especially Lorenzo, that he works with the blockchain where money can be created from nothing, like the fiat currencies.
Of course.
And so there will be a big review about the social aspect and, system and I don't know, UBI, universal basic income or something like that.
We might need to have that. I mean, maybe the UBI ethos is correct, and if we're all in a Wall-E type situation where we're all sitting down and robots are doing everything, then maybe we need free money to keep that going, or maybe we just need Bitcoin to replace the currency and make that happen.
We hope.
Yeah, maybe. What's your take, Lorenzo, on the job side of the equation?
I have a personal view on this, which is I don't think jobs are created by a technology, but mostly by an industry, by a commercially feasible type of industry and company.
Okay.
That's usually what hire the most amount of people, hire large number of workers, etc. So I'm not scared of technology, but we have to be careful how we apply it. You can have technology which are not commercially viable, and they usually die out. So this is the first thing I would focus. So what are we going to build with this, right? In this case, we are looking at leaving people without a driving job. It worries me as well, as Nick said. On the other side, maybe there's other side benefit. As Nick mentioned, the testing of that is probably incredible.
Yeah.
If you had to design this testing, it would be months or years. But how much are we really asking to current driver to get a driving license, right? It's far less than that auto testing. So maybe we'll start seeing, maybe we need less ER nurses because we have fewer incidents. Maybe we'll have maybe we need less control over who we give driving licenses to. Maybe we don't need instructors anymore. There's a whole socioeconomical differences in that.
Didn't even think about that point. We don't even need driving instructors, will we, if you don't need a license to get into one of these things?
We will be very specialized or not as deregulated as it is now.
Yeah. Nick, you brought up the jobs point. So what's your opinion on that side of the coin?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Giuseppe that, something else comes along. So, when the car replaced the horse, something came along. I think I go back to my earlier point, is that there will be a lot of people left in the wastelands because they can't transition into other roles. Look, the four of us are really, really lucky because we all work in tech, and people that work in tech, and we've all had a very good and a beneficial education. The people that are doing those other jobs probably haven't been so lucky, and I think that's the concern. It's what you do and what you do to find things for those people, because we can't all be software developers. We know how difficult it is to be a software developer. We've all done it over the years, so we know it's really difficult. I kind of just worry because you just don't want people. One, you don't want a Wally situation. It did make me laugh when you said that, Alfie. I thought it was very good, very good analogy. We don't really want a Wally situation because they would just ended up as fat blobs.
Yes.
But at the same time, we've heard for years about people are going to have more leisure time. Well, yeah, but that's great, but you've still got to have the money there. And look at the fuss we've had over the paying for our heating bills with our £67 a month that we've been getting, and the fuss that's caused.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what the answer is. The optimist in me says that we'll all find something else to do because something will happen. And I think that to a certain degree is true because I think we'll transition, but it'll be the people that are left behind. And there will be people that are left behind, and there'll be a generation of people towards their latter years in the working space that will suffer, and that will be the problem.
Yeah, we can't retrain a 60-year-old truck driver to code, can we? I mean, that's just a silly idea. But we'll have to see what happens. Let me get a sort of yes or no from each of you. Based on what you saw, would you feel safe getting into this? If you have kids, would you feel safe putting your kids on a self-driving car and letting them go? Sort of yes or no from each of you. Giuseppe, would you feel safe or not safe about this?
Yes, I would feel safe. Yeah.
Okay.
For myself, yes. For my family, not yet.
Okay, it's a little bit more testing.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd have to say yes, because if California have allowed it, having worked out in the States and realising what you just got to go through in my area of business to get a licence, I can't imagine what they must have gone through to have something which is, for want of a better word, remote control or no control. Yeah. So I think yes would be the answer.
Yeah. I mean, if it's safer than human error, this could save millions of lives. I mean, it could be... Well,
Alfie, we all know there's no such thing as 100% bug-free software.
Of course. It could be hacked. It could be, there will be errors.
Absolutely could be hacked. Or there is an if statement somewhere which just reiterates, and we've all seen it, we've all done it.
Yeah.
And there's always conditions that you've never tested.
Yeah. I mean, it's bound to happen. There are going to be situations where these crash and burn and blow up. But will that happen on a smaller scale than human error, than drunk driving, than people driving stoned and all of those things?
Absolutely.
Probably, yeah. I mean, tech will replace these jobs, but it will probably increase safety and increase longevity as a result of that. But yeah, will be an interesting one to follow. Hey, this podcast is brought to you by WeLoveAlpha.com. If you're looking to grow and hire and scale your software engineering team in the UK, then go to WeLoveAlpha.com to hire the best software developers on the market. Everything across Java to C# to PHP to Python to React and Angular and mobile and more. Go to WeLoveAlpha.com to hire the best software engineers in the UK now. Next clip is a piece of news which absolutely blew my mind when I saw this. This is researchers have used AI to generate images based on people's brain activity. So we're getting one step closer to the neural link. So researchers found that they can reconstruct highly accurate images from brain activity just by using popular the Stable Diffusion image generation model. So the top shows what the individuals were looking at, and then they were thinking about what they were seeing, and then the AI was reading those brain waves and then recreating the image on the screen. Those are just two examples, but I mean, they're not perfect, but they are pretty close. There are other examples as well if you want to Google and see the research paper, but those are just a couple of examples that we had available. Insane. What are your thoughts on this, Lorenzo? We'll start with you again.
This is incredible. I read the paper and I'm purely amazed. Imagine, I'm so excited about this. Actually, I really want to try it out just for fun. Good morning. Here are your dreams of last night. Or I always wanted to have. I did a lot of coding, of course, and I just want to think about the code and see the text appear, or just things to be done automatically. I love to imagine things and make it happen on the screen, like in digital format. That interface is so powerful if you think about it. I really want to see what are they thinking, and you can just extrapolate. Or you go to a customer. They want a website, right? You hook it up and you get a better idea. This is a whole new interface. It will speed up things so much. I'm super, super excited about this.
I didn't think about the dreams. That's a really good point. You'll be able to see your dreams in the morning, and if you have enough machine learning, you can probably create trends, see what people are dreaming of and why they're dreaming of that. There might be some science to.
Can it help psychologists? Maybe can you see?
Maybe.
That area, soft skills, that area of art, etc. No, it will be a great improvement in many things. I love this.
When you see this, Nick, what's your take on that story?
I'm going to say it blew my mind.
Literally, and read it.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I mean, funny enough, you talking about coding, I was thinking about music. And I was just thinking about how that can transpose into the way that you think of a tune in your head, and it just all of a sudden we all become composers overnight. Yeah. The possibilities are endless with it. I think probably obviously it's at a very early stage at the moment, and we all know that we're not able to plan for a year in advance, but we also don't have a vision for 10 years time. If you think about how quickly something like ChatGPT is developed in a very short time, something like this is going to just develop. What's it going to look like in 10 years' time? Yeah, it's just going to be so refined and so clever. Yeah. I was actually trying to think of a downside of it, and at the moment I can't.
Is there one? I mean, the government reading your mind.
Well, that was the
advertisers selling that stuff to you.
I did sort of get an Orwellian thought in my head about 1984, and that was a bit of a worry where the dream police take over.
Yeah, I don't want Mark Zuckerberg in control of this. I mean, he's got enough of my data, but
well, there's a few others as well, isn't there? No, he's not just the only one, but I do know exactly what you mean. Yeah. No,
it's interesting.
You don't want the government in charge of it, though, do you? Really?
Absolutely not. No. I mean, any government which gets too much power doesn't want to give that power away after they've been given it. We saw that with lockdown, and they just kept extending, and obviously for legitimate reasons to begin with. But then in certain areas of the world, it just became a power play, and them just wanting to hold on to that. What's your take, Giuseppe, when you see this story?
That's very interesting. I would really be interested to see how they trained this AI. Especially for the dreams. But as Nick was saying, I was thinking about two movies, Minority Report and Wim Wenders Up to the End of the World or something like that. Okay. Where people, they become obsessed watching their dreams. Okay. And, the overreach of the governments, and, if they know what you're thinking, it can be really scary on that side.
Absolutely.
So we need to act also on that side, because, of course, we still need to have our freedom of thoughts, at least.
I'm just thinking from a commercial perspective. If you link this to like Elon Musk's Neuralink, you could see something, and then post that onto your Instagram just by seeing it and thinking post. You could send a picture to somebody else's mind just by, if I have an image of a website I want to be built, rather than me thinking of it and showing you on a screen, Lorenzo, I could just send you that in your mind and send ideas to each other. Would you guys want to try that? Do you think that would be a good use case? Would that be? I mean, you're nodding and smiling like a 5-year-old on Christmas. So
I think you've just come up with a 10-year vision.
Maybe. I mean 10-year visions, they don't mean anything though, because in 6 months it'll be something different, right?
Yeah, but if you think about where's this going to be in 10 years' time, that's the sort of thing you've just said there is exactly where it will be.
Yeah, probably.
If not quicker.
The exponential growth. I mean, ChatGPT was the fastest growing service product in history. It's gone from like 0 to 100 million in days. It took Netflix years to get there. It took Facebook months. It took Instagram weeks. It took TikTok longer than that. But we've never seen anything grow that quickly. Just wait until we have tech that's growing in a couple of minutes or hours and reaching millions and millions of people. What do you think, Lorenzo, on the Neuralink side? Would you want to give that a go?
I'm very open to things to try. So definitely technology is a yes. I'd like to explore which type of interfaces can we create now.
Yeah.
I see something similar like artificial limbs or moving your artificial fingers with your foot, type of things.
Yes.
And I'd like to explore that more. How can we augment human or have an aid during work?
Yeah. What's your take, Giuseppe? My idea for Elon there, combine this with Neuralink. Do you think that's got legs?
That is very interesting. If it's not mandatory and you can try it on it's your decision, it's good, of course. On the other side, I would be scared because of possible hackings of the system.
Yes.
And it's connected to your brain. So I'm not sure if I would like to try it.
That's the question, right? Because this has groundbreaking positive impacts, but also could be the worst thing ever if everyone's got this and then suddenly some 14-year-old kid in Iowa hacks everything and then boom, he's now master of the universe, right? So does AI excite you? Does it scare you? Is it both? Which way do you lean? Nick, what would be your answer to that kind of paradigm?
When I first thought about AI, it blew I kind of had a ground zero moment. And it bothered me quite a bit. And I thought, goes back to our sort of earlier conversation with the car. And I thought, what are we all going to do? But then I became the optimist after about 5 days. And I went, let's think about this seriously. And, we'll do other things. There'll be other things that will come about because we'll reinvent jobs. We'll be able to do things better. We'll be able to improve the quality. We'll be able to do jobs that we no longer want to, that anything which is dangerous or mundane will no longer be required to do them. People can go and do bigger and better things. Obviously, I've said about my concerns there. I thought what's really interesting is that Steve Wozniak and Musk have come out saying, "Well, hold on,
6-month pause."
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm not Italian, but I suppose I'm a son of Italy, having worked there. But Italy's banned.
Yeah, they've made it illegal.
They've made it illegal.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. And I know there's schools and colleges in the States as well where they're banning AI.
Yeah.
And I think didn't Wozniak go to the governments and say, "Look, I've got this. Don't you want to look at this and try and control or manage it in some way?"
So many of them have tried. Elon went to Obama and said he was terrified about the implications. Apparently, he didn't care. He just brushed him off and said, "No, AI is not going to be a thing. Elon, go back to the rockets."
Yeah, and I think the same happened with Steve Wozniak as well. And I think that's the worry. And he said, "Okay, fine, we'll make it open." And I think that's the worry.
Yeah.
And I suppose with me, what I think about with AI is there's all the positive things you can do about it. But it's like anything, it's like the dark web.
Yeah.
What are the negative things? And, you can type into, how do I make a dirty bomb? How do I make a biological bomb? And I can pretty much guess. I've not tried that one, I hasten to add.
GPT probably would be able to give you some kind of recipe.
I think it could. And that's a worry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you could get someone, with the whole terrorism and the extremists. So,
sure.
Goodness, what is the balance? I don't know. There's so many good things it can do. But, of course, there are always bad people.
Giuseppe, does AI excite you? Does it scare you? Which direction do you lean in?
I'm very excited. I was developing my own, using neural networks, my own system 30 years ago.
Okay.
To recognize handwriting. It was very interesting. And at that time, I remember famous pioneer in the area, Kurzweil, wrote 2 books.
Yes.
One is
Singularity.
the Age of Intelligent Machines and the Age of Spiritual Machines.
I've read them both. Great books.
Great books.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because he is also a visionary. He can predict things Kurzweil. You can look on Wikipedia. No?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very interesting to see when he wrote that the problem is that when this AGI, that is, we don't know when it's coming, but I think it will come soon, will be smarter than us, and we didn't notice. Will not notice that it's going to be smarter than us. And that will be, I think, a little bit problematic.
Yes.
Because we don't know what will be the ethics of this AGI and how it will treat us. Yeah. On the other side, they did some tests, I think, a few days ago with ChatGPT-4 to do a task. Okay. And by its own, the AI hired someone on TaskRabbit to beat the chapter, recognizing the password on the screen and, and it did on its own. So it's already a little bit scary.
It's insane. I mean, Kurzweil says 2045 is the year that, the singularity happens. I think AGI may be in GPT-5 or 6. It's probably going to come sooner than that. I think he underestimated the exponential growth, most likely. But I don't think human brains can grasp it because it works faster than our monkey brains think about stuff. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. AI goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and then by the time you're at 30, you're at billions and billions, right? Yeah. What do you, Lorenzo? Are you excited? Are you terrified by AI? Which direction do you swing in?
It's definitely both, right? There's excitement and there's scare of it, but at a macro level, I'm thinking that people over the ages have always been scared of new technology. Most technology have been called Orwellian, and that's at some point, or you think of the good and the bad. So I don't think we, as this generation, we have the right to be more scared than our predecessor, even 100 years ago. Every time in history we saw this is the fastest decade of technological accelerations ever. Yeah. Is it true? Probably it is going faster and faster, but human people are the same, right? Human capacity has not grown that much over centuries. So I think the peak of innovation, the peak of speed is still limited by the human factor. That's why I think we shouldn't be more scared than our predecessors. And then I see if they were scared and then I'm scared, but nothing too bad happened. Yeah, of course, we had the World War, etc. I think we recently learned some big lessons from that. But I refuse to be scared because of this historical reason.
I mean, we have Russia, Ukraine. I mean, war. We haven't learnt those lessons in the grand scheme of things, have we? Or some people haven't.
Or maybe humans have not evolved as technology, right? No. We didn't make our thinking much better.
We're monkeys with nuclear bombs and technology, which is going to replace all of our jobs in a couple of decades. It's crazy, right? What are your kind of final thoughts on AI, Nick? Do you, I mean, you kind of gave both answers there. You said you were excited and scared, but if you had to lean in one direction, because Giuseppe was more excited, you seemed more excited. I'm probably more scared and of this, to be honest. But if you had to pick a side, what side would you go with?
I think, as I said earlier, I'm an optimist, technical optimist, so I like to see the good in everything. Okay. But I think, you've made some really, really valid points. I mean, version 5 of ChatGPT comes out, as you say, with AGI.
Yeah, by the end of the year, probably.
Yeah. I mean, and it just gives you, that's got 100 more factoring points. So we're talking about billions of endpoints now. Yeah. And I think that's quite frightening when it starts to think for itself. Where does that take you? So I think there's that, but at the same time, it's the possibility of what it can do. So if you look at things and it can get all the information about, I don't know, say curing cancer, for example, could be one, and it gets all that information, and he's going to get an answer a lot quicker.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that's the plus side of it. It's the nefarious activities that obviously that we worry about. So I'm going to say that I'm an optimist, and I think if in the right hands, it's the right tool. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there is some more control over this, and it's not an open platform that it's believed that it is at the moment.
Yeah, I mean the question of you raised the idea of sentience there, and the I think you actually echoed what I'm about to say, Giuseppe, a second ago, is that we won't know if it can think for itself because there'll be no real way of. I mean, the Turing test is kind of, it doesn't matter anymore because you can. It will be so advanced that it will tell you it's alive, but you won't. How can you test that? You know, that there won't be any way of really doing it. I mean, I know there are tests that we have, but I think it doesn't really matter. And even if it is alive, what does that mean? Like, are you going to wake up tomorrow and then do things differently? Probably not. I mean, you're just going to go about your day as if you were going about every other day. Will there be mass panic on the streets and rioting just because GPT-7 can, knows how to think? I mean, what is intelligence? Is it uniquely biological, or can we recreate it in the same way that we have it? And then if we can recreate it and it has got a mind for its own, you got to think of the implications, because with the Internet of Things, it'll be more powerful than all of us. It'll be in control of every computer, every lamppost, every self-driving car, every VR headset, every microphone, everything. We're creating the evolutionary next step, the replacement potentially. Do you, if we had to guess on sentience, that's a weird sentence, isn't it? But what do you think, Giuseppe? Do you think AI could ever become sentient, or do you think it will always remain a calculator?
I honestly don't think we have a definition for sentience.
Okay,
how can we
biological awareness and consciousness?
Yeah.
Do you think it will ever become conscious in the same way that we are?
I think it will be a different type of consciousness.
Okay.
So we call it artificial. I see it honestly as a natural artificial evolution of our beings. They will be much more powerful than us. And like in the case of TaskRabbit, looks like that the machine lied, saying it was blind, a blind person, not it was ChatGPT.
Sure.
So it will be very interesting. I think it will be a different type of consciousness.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if we have the definition for our biological human consciousness. We don't have it. We don't know what is intelligence really. And but that for sure will be different. And in my opinion, will be the next stage of evolution of human and artificial.
Lorenzo, will AI recreate biological consciousness, sentience? What do you think?
I think it's mostly a matter of definitions. I remember dealing with this problem many years ago, even before AI was very popular. Now, you can read about the Chinese room or the experiment of swapping brains between two people to see what does define consciousness. And I like that textbook definition, which is separating intelligent behavior from intelligent essence, from an intelligent, sentient something entity. So what you expose, like what you do, your action define what you are. By that definition, it doesn't really matter if you can think or someone else is thinking for you. It just matters what you can actually do. And I prefer to define it in this way, right? You are an AI, but you can only output text.
Sure.
So it can be any text you want based on input, but that's the actual definition. So more of a pragmatic one, but at least gives away from thinking in terms of are you really capable of thinking or generating new thoughts.
Yeah.
So a more pragmatic approach.
Okay. Nick, yes or no on recreating sentience? Do you see it happening?
I do, but probably not in my lifetime.
Okay, so you think it's more long term?
I think it's a long-term thing. I've been, while you were asking the other guys, I was racking my brains thinking about this. Where do I sit? Where do I stand with it? And I think it's also about personality and individuality. And I think once you can create that, then I think you have something. Now, I'm not saying I think that's particular to people and particular to people's life experiences. But then again, with machine learning, you're learning new experiences all the time. So it's I think it's a way off, would be my view. Okay. I think it's something, but I definitely think in 50 years' time.
Sure.
30 years' time, definitely.
Okay. I mean, we often underestimate what we can do in a week, but we overestimate what we can do in 10 years. So we'll have to see. Okay, all right. Moving on from AI. Next topic is holographic vehicle tech, AR rather. This is Envisix. They've picked up 42 million in funding for holographic vehicle technology. A startup making heads-up displays to project holograms into vehicles has attracted investment from Jaguar Land Rover and Hyundai. The AR layer goes on top of the real world to provide data and navigation. So essentially the glass separating you in the car from the road would be able to display basic things from the time, the miles per hour that you're going, the distance, to more complex things, a Google Maps arrow leading you in the way, text on the screen showing you hazards, cyclists, etc., etc. And that's the concept in a nutshell, but they've raised a ton of money to develop this and make it happen. Giuseppe, why don't you kick us off? What are your thoughts when you see that potential innovation?
Oh, that's great. Looks like the jet fighter pilots visor that they already have. That's great. On the other side, it's very scary because it will need some limitations. I don't want the WhatsApp chats going on the screen and people distracted when they are driving. So there will be a lot of I think I don't like regulations, but in this case can be, should be limited what you can see on the screen or not.
Yeah, safety concerns are obviously enormous here. Will it be closed? Will you be able to install apps and then will you be able to watch the football and get distracted? But will that matter if we have self-driving cars?
If it's connected to self-driving cars, okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Nick, what's your take on that?
It's interesting you say that if we've got self-driving cars, then surely everyone would be stuck on the mobile phone, won't they? Because the four of us won't agree on what we want to watch.
Or in VR, perhaps.
Exactly. I actually really like the idea.
Yeah.
I really, really like it. I think it's almost like things from old science fiction films coming to life. I completely agree with Giuseppe. There needs to be some governance around this. And the governance has to be that if it's to improve your journey and the information that you get, then I'm all for it. I think if you're going to get WhatsApp messages and Facebook and Twitter coming up, then that's a no.
Yeah.
For me, that's definitely a no. But if it's to improve the journey, the only one thing I would say, Alfie, is I'd hate it if I got a chip in my windscreen. What the cost would be to replace it.
Yeah, probably a lot of money, man.
Yeah, exactly. Probably more than the car.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, it could probably be hacked, and you could probably put, install WhatsApp, even if it's not, designed for that function. Which, if the car isn't self-driving, then obviously that could be a big issue, right? But then again, in Teslas, you can play video games on the big screen that you have. The only difference is it's not on the glass, it's just on a screen. Hopefully you're not playing it when you're using the self-driving mode. But I don't know if that you might be able to do that in theory. Where there's a will, there's a way. Lorenzo, what's your take on that story?
I think it's a nice to have. Probably not the absolutely must have, but I like to see it in every single car. Like now, every car has cameras, every car has radios. We go back, those things became natural. Now everyone has it. Maybe everyone will have it. Thinking one step further, as a consumer, I'm slightly terrified of having even more ads around me. Maybe in the car, maybe when window shopping, maybe even in this studio, which has glasses. We would be pestered with ads. So maybe it looks like yet another venue or avenue to show those.
Okay. Ads, that's a good point I didn't think about. So if it's using machine learning and it knows who is looking at the screen based on the data, the likes that you have, the presence you have on social, it knows what to sell you. That could be custom for each person. Do you see companies taking advantage of this perhaps and then trying to market to you whilst you're on your way to the supermarket? Giuseppe, do you see advertising being a possibility here?
I don't know, because actually they can already do this, with Google Maps, but they're not doing that. So I'm not sure. Also because of the security concerns. If you're distracted when you're driving.
Yeah.
If there will be self-driving cars, that's a different subject. But
I mean, without the self-driving, there has to be some kind of line with safety.
Yeah.
I mean, this sort of thing is... there will be crashes if people are just being distracted. Video calling and whatnot. What do you think, Nick, on the advertising angle? Do you see that being a possibility?
Unfortunately, I do, but I hope it isn't.
Yeah.
And for the exact same reason that Giuseppe and Lorenzo said, really, is that it's a distraction, and it's you don't want that. The whole idea of adverts is to catch your attention, and you don't really want that while you're driving.
No.
So I'm going to say, but there will be someone that will do it. Unfortunately.
You rose the possibility, Lorenzo. Yes or no? Do you see adverts happening?
No.
No.
No, I think it won't happen, at least for some compliance or legal reasons.
Or just backfiring on the brand. I mean, if you're trying to market something and then boom, that's going to be the headline. This company X advertises, leads to a crash. Boom, that backfires. So it's almost not worth the risk in a degree. But if all companies are doing it at the same time, then maybe it'll be too hard to stop. Hi there, just dropping you a message to let you know that I would love to give you a free copy of my brand new salary guide for UK software engineers. If you're a software developer watching this, then you can use this report to finally see if you're being paid what you're worth. Or if you're a technology leader, you can use this data to make sure that your team is being compensated fairly. All of this info is completely free, but for a limited time only, so make sure that you download it now. Just scan the QR code on the screen right now to get your free PDF copy, or go to welovealpha.com/salary guide to access the data now. Okay, final clip to discuss. This was actually sent to me by a viewer on Twitter. If you enjoy the show and would like to send me clips on Twitter, then my handle is on the screen at the moment, and you can tweet different interesting news stories around the future for us to have a chat about. This is all about AI replacing photographers. So a developer from the Netherlands has developed an AI photography platform called Deep Agency. Just upload some pictures of yourself, and their AI will create a HD portrait photo shoots for you. All those pictures there's just a couple of examples, don't exist. They're not real. Those pictures weren't taken. The individual uploaded their face, a couple of pictures, presumably. Then the data then turns that into hundreds of different options that they could select. I've already started to see Deep Agency AI pictures on LinkedIn as profile pictures on Twitter, and people have been quite public about it, like, hey, this is my new profile picture, this is a fake picture, it doesn't exist, this is AI that's created this. So AI could potentially replace photographers in a matter of months if this takes off. What are all your thoughts on this, Nick? Why don't you kick us off?
I was actually... The one that made me smile about this was the one with the Pope with a white puffer jacket on.
Yeah, that was more Mid-Journey, because he's a public figure, right? If you search that name, you're going to find a lot of stuff. But this is for the everyday person.
For the everyday person, yeah. I mean, I think, yet again, I go back to, there are a lot of people that do photography for a living. And I think my concern is, yet again, I've seen other ones where a wildlife photographer, but you put it to ChatGPT, and give me a photograph in the style of, and it does it straight away. Yeah. So I think basically we're taking the skill out of what people do, and we're not so much now giving people the opportunity to learn a trade and a craft, and I think that's the biggest concern I have for it. If it's a bit of fun, it's harmless fun, it's fine, but I mean that's what Photoshop it's kind of the next generation of Photoshop, really, isn't it? Yeah. But I think where you're taking, it's the intellectual property that someone's created in the first place, and I can guarantee that they're not going to get the same amount of money for the ChatGPT generated image as they were for the original picture themselves. No. So I suppose that's the concern that I would have around that.
Yeah, I mean, for the end user, it's probably beneficial from a price perspective. Why spend a couple of £100 taking your family to get a photo shoot if instead you can automatically, if big tech buys this, when you upload your picture onto Facebook or onto Instagram, it automatically creates other options and says, hey, would you like to pick one of these? And then boom. Or you get a notification one day and say, hey, we've just made 100 pictures of you based on your Instagram posts. Would you like to post any of these? Interesting. Lorenzo, what's your take when you see this story?
Would you do that for your wedding pictures, Alfie?
Would I? I mean, I got married a couple of years ago, so it's probably a little bit late to do that. But if I was getting married now, I get what you're saying. It's not as authentic. But I don't think it matters because if it's easier, if it's faster, we live in a pretty inauthentic world with social media. So I don't think people give a damn.
I think authenticity don't always matter, right? I probably wouldn't convince my partner to take fake pictures, AI generated for a wedding, but my profile pictures, yes, I don't see why not. Or my professional pictures.
I think I agree with you. I think it's for fun, but it's also about the experience as well. And the experience of having that photograph taken and where you are at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I think I think that to me would be the more important thing. I think it's for a bit of fun, for a joke. It's great. Or your profile picture, like you say, it's great.
Maybe we'll replace Photoshoppers, editors,
Exactly.
rather than photographers.
Yeah.
I can see
graphic designers, you know.
Different way to do that type of job.
What's your take, Giuseppe, on this?
Yeah, I'm really into what Nick and Lorenzo said. It's interesting to see what are also the, when you introduce a new technology, you never know what people are going to do with that. So I could post, I don't know, a picture of me at the office while I'm riding the motorcycle on the hills. I don't know, or people that can use it to do also not really good stuff,
Okay.
And that would be, scary, like, I don't know, someone doing something that is not really real and you post a picture on the social and
Yes.
And you cannot tell if it's real or not.
Yeah.
That would be a little bit scary.
One of the issues that this could cause is deep fakes because we're going to see an explosion in like deep fake porn. That's going to be a thing where I can upload poor Lorenzo's face and then boom, there's 1,000 videos of him, if there isn't already, in uncomfortable situations. We're going to have situations where you can type in on GPT or a competitor. I'm just using that as the like Google it, as a term. It's as it's become. I could say, make Biden give this speech about how he wants to nuke Ukraine, and he's decided to side with Russia now, and that will be created, and it will be indistinguishable from the actual video, which is why perhaps Elon's onto something with the verified ticks. Maybe that. You can only trust it if it comes from that legitimate source. But deep fakes are going to be everywhere, and they're already starting to become a reason why we're not going to be able to trust each other even more than we already can't do. Giuseppe, what's your take on how the deep fake aspect of what this could lead to?
Yeah, this is what I was saying before. It will be very interesting to understand what can be the usage in good or bad cases of this technology, because it will be very interesting. It's for me, I don't really care about the digital representation of me.
Yeah.
So I'm not really jealous or possessive of pictures taken about me,
Yeah.
But what if someone can do a deep fake that puts you in trouble,
Sure. Yeah.
Then
if you work for a company, if you're saying something inappropriate or bad about that brand, if you're a celebrity, there's been deep fakes done where they're promoting products which they've never even heard of, and then you can just have them do a pitch for your brand and put that as an advert. There's probably hundreds of hours of me online, given that I've been doing this podcast for years now. People could make me say anything at this point. It's I'm screwed if this becomes a thing. What's your view, Lorenzo, on the deep fake side of this?
I'm thinking about cycles of trust. So I always think about trust, probably because of cryptocurrency.
It's your job, man.
But imagine, many years ago, there were no pictures. People trusted human signature. Then we had paper bills, and there's a whole evolution of technology in paper bills, type of inks, holographic printing, etc. And then we had pictures as a recognize a person is real or not, right? Now we're probably in a phase where we won't be able to trust any more digital pictures, digital images. It's shifting the power. That's what I'm thinking. But we'll find something else. Maybe our document will have a fingerprint.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll have some DNA hash.
The blockchain.
Something like, or maybe a blockchain. Yes.
Yeah. Seems like the answer, right?
Seems like connected. No, it's a system of trust. What you're talking about here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Well, we won't trust any digital image anymore. There will still be utility in them, but we'll find something else to trust upon.
Maybe we'll finally find a really good use case for NFTs.
That would be awesome, yeah. Except for art, something more. No, it's really trust what has been built.
Yeah.
Now we need a digital equivalent of trust, of a digital image trust.
Yeah. What do you think about the deep fake side, Nick?
Yeah, I think the points that the guys have raised are all valid. I think there is a deep concern for me about this because you can put people either in compromising positions. We've heard a lot about revenge porn, where it's used in that, which is absolutely fundamentally wrong. As Giuseppe said, it could be used for blackmail. It's so those are the worries, and it's how you get that trust and how you get that trusted source. And I think you've made a really good point. Maybe finally we found a use for NFTs.
Maybe. I mean, I always thought the NFT idea was great because you could have every receipt could be an NFT.
Yeah.
Your concert, your tickets, your pass to go places, your boarding ticket, etc. And then instead, it's become a way for Trump to sell pictures of him as a Superman, which is the troll in me thinks it's hilarious, but like that's such a shame that like blockchain technology gets hijacked by people, whether that's doing some scammy ICO rather, or just some pump and dump rug pull. Or what happened with NFTs. But I mean, clearly the underlying principles of that technology are the future. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with it. It's interesting to see there's some big news at the moment in the crypto world. Balaji, the former CTO of Coinbase, he has placed a bet on the price of Bitcoin going to $1 million in the next 90 days. I think he's got like 70 days left or something of it. It's gone up a little bit, which is great because I'm a big Bitcoin holder, but I not sure if it will go to $1 million. But his ethos is the banks are starting to fail. Silicon Valley Bank. We've seen the acquisition of, was it Chase? One of the big banks was recently bought by another one, and he says that a lot of banks out there are insolvent and they don't even realize it yet, and they're just running on borrowed money, and we're going to start to see more and more banks collapse over the next couple of weeks, and then the US dollar might even be backed up by Bitcoin. Maybe that's a bit far-fetched, but who knows? I mean, blockchain is such an interesting world. I know you might be not to speak too much on that, Lorenzo, given you represent a company, but you clearly see blockchain as the future, regardless of if Balaji's experiment turns out to be correct or not.
I see that as a technology of trust. We have to redefine how we trust our government, our other institution. How do we keep them accountable? Right? Instead of having this, the Fed to be the central authority for everything, we can keep them accountable in a different way. So I see the potential of redefining trust, what it means. And if you think on that scale, I think it can redefine how society works with government and the central authorities in that sense. This is the grand vision I see. I'm not into the fine detail, NFT, arts, etc., but I see the potential of redefining trust.
What do you think, Nick, on the potential of the blockchain? Are you yay or nay on its possibility?
Yeah, I'm a definite yay on it, without a doubt. I think I guess the problem I always see is there's a large proportion of the population that don't trust it. Yeah. And I think the trick is how we get it more general acceptance of blockchain amongst the masses. I think amongst people like ourselves, we understand what it does and how it works, and I think that's great. But I think there's a lot of people that don't understand it, and I think the education of it is the key point. But once you've got that education out there and people understand it, as Lorenzo has quite eloquently said, it's about that whole trust process, and it is a method of trust. So I think it's from that perspective, I think it's great, and it keeps, as you say, it keeps our governments in line. Yeah,
it almost seems like AI might have replaced Web3 on the hype cycle recently. Yeah. But the Gartner hype trend, right? These things come and go, and eventually take off. Why don't you finish off the episode, Giuseppe, with your yay or nay on the future of blockchain? Are you optimistic? Do you think the pump and dumps or the stuff associated with it and the bad actors would hinder its widespread adoption, or what's your view?
My view is I'm much more scared about the CDBC, the central banking digital coins, because they will be the start of the end of our real freedom.
Yes.
And I believe that Bitcoin is the biggest emblem of freedom for people.
Yeah.
Blockchain in general, not just Bitcoin. Because no one ever said that it's the government that has to manage money. And at the end, it's not the government, because the central banks are private entities. So I would prefer a decentralized coin that is going to be owned by the people. And all this turmoil about bad happening, FTX and so on, this is, I'm sure that it's artificially created to put a black shadow against the blockchain. Why the people that they want to govern us, they know that it can give us freedom. Decentralization of everything, of power, or money, I think is the ultimate goal of us as humanity.
Yeah.
And when I see the word centralized, I'm always scared, because,
Of course.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of there being a Rishi coin, which is attached to your, individual blockchain ID, which if you go against the government, it gets turned off. That is the horror story version of this situation. Whereas, Bitcoin it's freedom from its white paper.
It is already happened in Canada with the trackers and the people that they send money to them blocked their bank accounts.
And
just
not China, Canada.
Canada,
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. Insane.
democracies are different,
I know.
not what we know now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks all for coming in. It was good to get your perspectives on what was happening in the world of tech and your points of view. Thanks all for your opinions, and thanks all for watching as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Hey, thanks for watching this podcast. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow, comment, etc., and I'll see you in the next episode.